What's going on, everybody? Sorry about the little delay. We had some technical difficulties just getting everything started. But welcome to the first episode of the In the Passenger Seat with whichever YouTuber friend I decide to bring on here to the channel. Kind of, with everything going on, it's just a way to connect with, some of the people that I watch on YouTube, just to get to know them, kind of like in a podcast format. I'm going to ask them questions. Obviously, they're going to respond to those questions. And then also here in the comments, if you guys did want to ask Scott any questions, you can definitely go ahead and ask those questions. As you can tell from the thumbnail, from the title, I am doing this live stream today with my buddy Scott over at Five12 Garage. So thank you, Scott, for joining me on here tonight. And cheers to you, buddy.
What's up, man? What's up, everybody? Yeah, I didn't see a beer on your table when we were first trying to get this thing going. So
sorry. Yeah, I gotta crack it open. There you go. So, Scott, as many of you know, if you don't know, Scott has a YouTube channel. Obviously, here on YouTube, Five12 Garage. He's on Instagram as Five12 Garage, and he just started a website, Five12 Garage. We'll get into that here in a second. But before we get into everything, I just want to make sure, can everybody hear me and see me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can.
It's good lighting on your head.
You like that?
I like the red lights, too, you got going on there.
Okay, good. Everybody can hear me. So, Scott, before we get into a little bit of the nitty-gritty, I know when we first kind of met on YouTube about 2 years ago. You had messaged me at the time. Your channel was called Team 512. I saw that you had a P8 plate. 512 area code just did not make sense to me. So when I Googled 512 area code, because everyone does area codes, right, with their YouTube and Instagram names, 512 popped up as like an Austin, Texas area code. So then I reached out to you and I was like, dude, what's the meaning of 512? So I know what it is. Maybe some of the people watching do, but for those that don't, what is the meaning behind 512? I feel like it really is good for you.
Yeah, so 512 Garage. So when I first started the YouTube channel, I was spending a lot of time in the garage with the C5, filming videos, and not as much time hanging out with the fam. And so I was trying to figure out a way that I could include the family in all of this, because initially it didn't really have a name. It was just, whatever it was like sgrady13 or whatever my Gmail account was. So anyway, I have a wife and two kids, and I don't want to get this wrong. So my son's birthday is on the 5th. I got to think about this. And my wife and daughter's birthday is on the 12th. So I combined them together and called it Team 512, right? And then people started hitting me up like, hey, are you in Texas? I'm noticing the PA plates. What's going on here? Because it was literally team spelled out and then the number 512, so it looked like an area code. But I figured I needed to do something a little bit different. So then I took away the number, the numeral 5, and spelled out 5, 512, just to sort of separate. And I still get people that think I'm in Texas, but that's the meaning. I know it's a big huggy, squishy thing, but my family rocks. So
yes, and I think that's very important. So that's pretty cool. Now, what's going on? You mentioned a little bit on the 512 Garage, and you kind of transitioning from that Team 512 to the 512 Garage. Obviously here on YouTube, Instagram. But talk a little bit about your site that you created.
Yeah, so 512 Garage is a website. It's an e-commerce site for modern Corvettes, C5 through C8. So we carry parts and accessories. There it is. 512garage.com carries parts and accessories for C5 through C8 Corvettes, and we've got a lot of exciting stuff actually on the way. So I launched the site, I think it was like May or June last year. And there was somebody in the industry that was starting to sponsor my videos. And he said to me, why don't you start a little e-commerce site? You're doing a great job, talking about these products and doing all these videos, but you're sending people to like other websites to buy this stuff. You ought to just spin up an e-com site and see what you can do with it. And his idea was sort of small, but with my business background, I don't know if you guys, I haven't really talked about my background, but I have a business background and e-com background. I can't ever do anything small. So I spun up a larger website, and it continues to grow week after week. And I think Greg is on this live stream right now. You guys probably, if you've watched any of the videos on the channel, you've seen Greg and his C6. He helps out quite a bit with the site, and so does his awesome wife, Heather. So so that's 512 Garage. It started as an idea from somebody in the industry that works for a vendor that I represent. And he said, hey, why don't you try spinning up a site? And so I did, and here we are.
Awesome. And people that do know you know that you can't do anything small. I mean, just look at the wing on the C7 you got back there. So.
Yeah, well, I really started the website so I could get free car parts. That's really why,
And that's kind of why I brought you on here first, is so I can get some of those free car parts.
Well, a lot of the stuff that gets done to the cars, particularly in the videos, not everything, but some of the stuff, vendors will reach out and say, hey, we've got this product, like Extreme Online Store. So that's the obviously the ZTK wing that's on the car and the front splitter. They get some value out of a video getting created. I get value out of a video to create the video. And so it's a really good relationship with a lot of the vendors. And you guys benefit because you get more content around the vehicles that you love. And the focus sort of the website was three different things. I wanted really easy navigation, and I love feedback. So if you've never been to 512garage.com, either on a mobile device or on a web browser, and navigated around the site, I try to make it as easy as possible to find exactly what you're looking for, and then as much content as I can pack around those products. That's sort of the second piece of this is really to make it a content-rich experience, and then highly curated, right? So I don't want to load the site up with a bunch of products that people don't buy, and so I've sort of learned from shopping the same way we all shop on these sites is like, what is bad about all those sites, and what can I extract from that and create a site that I actually want to go to and spend time on. And so that's sort of like the underlying premise of sort of the value chain for 512 Garage. So highly curated, content rich, and easy navigation. That's the focus of the site. And I have a pretty big announcement coming up, actually two big announcements probably in the next month or so on the site. And so I'm really excited for the next phase of what's going on here. And I think everybody else will be too.
Awesome. Now, is some of that C5 related?
Well, so yeah, I mean, some of it is C5 related. Absolutely. And I'll get into the C5 because I want to get some feedback from the people that are watching right now on the C5, because I got some projects in mind for it. So I want to sort of gauge the interest level. But in terms of products, fairly soon here, we're going to be carrying quite a bit more product. That's all I'll say for now for, modern Corvettes and maybe other GM vehicles as well. So we'll see.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Now, when did you get into cars? I mean, obviously we all have that car story on why we got into cars. So what was your story on why did you get into cars?
I had a really good friend in high school that was into cars. He had a 1970 Cougar, and so I graduated high school in '95. So this was like early mid '90s, and we were driving cars from I guess the 70s, were really popular. And it's funny to think now, like back in the 90s, the 70s were like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
They seem so old to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so one of my best friends had this 70 Cougar, and we used to spend weekends wrenching on it and stuff. And he still has that car today,
Nice.
which is pretty amazing. Yeah, and so that's sort of his baby. He'll never get rid of that. We should talk about cars that I got rid of that I should have never. But anyway, yeah, so that's where it started back in high school. And my first car was a 1978 Camaro with a 2-barrel 305. The body was nice, but it was slow as anything, man. It was just a terror. I couldn't even do a burnout. It wouldn't do a burnout. I mean, we used to dump like bleach and water and whatever we could underneath the tires, and I would stand on the brake and just floor it, and those back wheels would not break at all. Mm-hmm. It was bad. So the first project I ever did on a car on my own was I put a 4-barrel carb in like a new intake manifold, right? And it didn't make the car any faster. It still couldn't do a burnout.
Sorry, I'm laughing at 2001 Corvette's comment. I don't know if you can see it from there.
I can't. No, my laptop is too far away. But
he put in quotes. The body was nice, but it was slow. Sounds like my ex-wife.
That's pretty good.
So that was funny.
I'm just here for the comments.
Well, since you mentioned, a car, a bunch of cars that you did have, which car do you regret getting rid of? Yeah,
so the one car I absolutely regret getting rid of was I had a 1993 Mustang LX50 convertible, sort of like Vanilla Ice had in the Ice Ice Baby commercial or video, music video. And in 2003, I was living out in California, and I had that car out there, and I traded it in for a brand new 03 GT, and I still regret that every single time I think about it. So,
did you crank Vanilla Ice on it?
I may have, but just I had the single. I didn't have the whole cassette.
Yeah. Oh, of course not. Yeah.
So, all right, we can move on.
No, I'm sorry. I was just reading through some of the comments.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the comments. Come on. There's some gold in them Dar Hills.
Yeah. Drew said Scott Baby instead of Ice Ice Baby. But...
There you go.
So since you do have the long history of owning multiple cars, I'm sure you've had some fun stories to tell, or you do have some fun stories to tell. And maybe one or two of those were some close encounters with some police. So if you could share maybe one of those. You don't have to go into too many. But
yeah. Oh, man. There's one I want to tell, but it's sort of incriminating. I'm not sure I want to share share that one. It's not so much of a car story. It's more of like an underage consumption story that took place in a car. But
I have one that's very similar to that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes cops are pretty impressed at smoky burnouts, I will say. So you never know what you're going to get, right? So, Kmart parking lot, late at night, smoky burnouts, cop pulls up. I think I'm in for it. And he was rather impressed. Now, obviously, this wasn't my Camaro. No, there was no breaking those rear wheels loose, but I had an 87 Trans Am. And I think that was my third car ever was the TA, tune port. It was a 305 T-top, black with gold, around the bottom. That thing could do some burnouts. And it was late night one night in a Kmart parking lot, and we were just ripping around the parking lot. And the cop pulled up, and again, I thought we were in for it, but he was pretty impressed and just told us to go to hell home. So I was like, all right, I'm gone. We're good. I was like 18, 19.
Nice.
Still the 90s,
Yeah. Well, like you said, a lot of cops, they understand. They get it. They were all car people at one point too, so they get it.
Now, I did go for a ride along with a cop in a cop car when I was living out in California. I had a really good friend who was a cop, and I spent the night on patrol with him. That's a thing. I didn't even know that was a thing. I met him when I was living out in California, and I learned he was a cop. And he's like, "You want to do a ride along one night with me?" I was like, "What does that mean?" He goes, "Well, you get to come with me." And what? That's a thing? I didn't know people could do that. So I thought I was going to get like a bulletproof vest and like all this cool gear. He's like, "Wear some khakis." I'm like, "Wear some khakis? I don't want to wear khakis." But anyway, yeah. So we went out on the highway out in California, and we let that patrol car rip, which was kind of fun. But.
Cool. So when you first started YouTube, you only had the C5 FRC. What made you start sharing your car passion for the Corvette on YouTube?
Yeah, so I was watching a bunch of other YouTubers that were doing Corvette content like yourself, and I thought, man, if this Dave guy can do this, shit, I can do this.
Pretty much.
No, I mean, I got to be honest with you. In those early days when I was shopping for a C5, I came across a lot of your videos, and I started watching a bunch of your videos and watching what you were doing. And there was one video in particular where you went out to get beer, and it was snowing, and it was I don't know if it was like a Christmas thing or it was a New Year's or something.
I think it was a Christmas party.
And I don't even remember what you were talking about, but I was like, oh man, that looks like a lot of fun. So yeah, it was sort of, what am I going to say? You inspired me in a way to start making videos. And the thing I always regret is, so when I got the FRC, some people know this already, but I had a post-purchase inspection. When you go buy a car, get a pre-purchase inspection. The post-purchase inspection is fine. But, I took it to a local Corvette shop, and, they handed me this list, and there were leaky things everywhere. One of the issues that it had was there was a leak between in the transmission and the extension housing where 6th gear and reverse gear is, and then it butts up to the differential, and there was a leak there. And so in order to fix that leak, you essentially have to drop the subframe out of the car. Well, once that's out, you might as well swap the clutch. The thing had 75,000 miles on it, and then do whatever else you do while that's out. So, rebuild the torque tube. I ended up putting new bearings, and anyway, it was a big job. It was a super fun job. I did it in the garage, and this was before I had the lift and the Swiss tracks and all that kind of stuff. And I didn't film any of it. I drove down to Maryland to RKT Performance, and they rebuilt the T56 that's in the C5 in a day. I dropped it off. In a half an hour, he had this thing in pieces and showed me everything that was going to get rebuilt that day. And I didn't film any of it. And that's like my biggest regret. Like, I really wish I would have filmed that whole process of clutch job, rebuilding the torque tube, taking the transmission down there and getting rebuilt, because I thought it would be such great content to share with people. So anyway, what the hell was the question? I don't even remember.
Why did you get into YouTube? But it's good. It's good. It's good discussion. Now this brings up, we were talking about the FRC. Before we jumped on here, you said that it would be okay if I did a giveaway for the hat that you're wearing right there.
Yeah, man.
So I have a question for everybody here on the live stream. First person to get it right wins a Five12 Garage hat. So it was a little over a year ago. It was in the fall time. I came out to Scott's. We did a video review on the C5 FRC. Now, as I was pulling back into Scott's driveway, I had an issue with pulling in. It was only my third time driving manual, so I kept on stalling. So my question is, first person to get it right, don't just spam it with a whole bunch of comments. Only 2 comments per person. This way you can't spam it. How many times did I stall before I finally pulled into Scott's driveway? First person to get that right wins a 512 Garage hat.
I know it was more than 3.
It was more than 3. So far, nobody's got it.
Yeah, I don't even know what.
Drew got it. Drew, 7 times is that's how many times I stalled getting in before I got in.
Oh my gosh, 7 times?
Yeah, Drew beat Project Dirty by a hair. I saw Drew's comment and then Project Dirty's comment like right after it. So,
all right. Well, Project Dirty, email me your shipping address and I'll mail you. I'll give away 2 hats. How's that sound?
Why? Because Drew probably already has 3.
No, I don't think Drew has a hat.
No. Wow. How did Drew not have a hat?
So Dirty, email me. You can email me scott@team512.com. And I'll get a hat shipped out to you. And Drew, awesome. you might get your hat next time I see you.
Now, since we're on Corvettes, not recently, but how long ago did you pick up the C7?
It was not last summer, the summer before.
Gotcha.
Summer of 19. Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, between the C5 and the C7, obviously that's what this thumbnail looked like.
Yeah.
Kind of did that to drive traffic for people to join in here. So between the C5 and C7, which one do you like better? For certain circumstances, you like one over the other. So talk to me about, why a C5, why a C7, and why you have both and kept both.
Yeah, and I've had and there's probably a couple people on this live stream right now that have tried to procure that C5 from me. Yeah, so that is
me being one of them, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, right, exactly. There's probably about 3 or 4, 5 people that want to. And one of these days, maybe I'll just put it up on eBay and have a private listing and see which one of you wants to offer the most money for it. But yeah, no, that's a really good question. I did a video probably, I don't know, over a year ago where I talk about both cars and the differences and the fact that I don't really like one over the other. There are reasons why I enjoy driving one and not the other. I can tell you flat out, every time I get in the C5, I remember why I fell in love with Corvettes. I could tell you that 100%. I don't know what it is. It just feels so mechanical and it feels so connected. And there's not all of this shit between you and the road, right? And I love that feeling. I have the stock shifter in there, right? So to go from first to second gear, like my elbow back in the luggage.
I'm surprised you don't have an MGW yet.
Oh, that's a long story. We'll talk about that someday. But of the C5, every time I get in that car, I am so reminded of why these cars are just amazing vehicles. And the C5 is just such an amazing value now. And it continues to be an amazing value. The C7 is a little bit different in that you do feel a bit more insulated from the driving experience, right? So it feels like a modern car. If you're just sort of cruising around and you're not really getting on it, or you're on the highway and you're like in 6th or 7th gear just cruising, you really could be in any modern car if you're just looking out the window and not seeing your surroundings. Now, of course, when you downshift and get on it, it's a different experience. But the C5, you always feel like you're driving a Corvette, you're driving a sports car, and especially that it's cammed, it has full exhaust. It smells like a race car. It's obnoxious. And so you got to sort of be in the mood for that when you have the option to drive the C7. And one of the things that I've vowed not to do to the C7, but I may go back on this at some point, is to put headers on it and just no cats like it's on the C5. Because I get out of the C5 and I smell like I'm covered in hydrocarbons. And, I've been at the racetrack or something all day, which is cool. But sometimes you just, I don't know, the C7 is a little bit more mellower in that respect.
Mm-hmm.
But both are amazing cars, and you can feel the lineage, right? Because the C5 was really the first of that modern platform, that modern architecture for the Corvette, and so it still has characteristics of the C5. And when you get them both up on a lift, and you look at the C5 and you look at the C7 from below, I mean, they both look very similar. You know, I mean, it's a lot of the same architecture. I mean, it is. Same with the C6.
Yeah.
It's a familiar platform.
So when you wake up in the morning, you get out of the shower. I know the answer to this because I see your Instagram all the time. Which keys do you grab more often? The C5 or the C7 keys?
The Hummer.
Well, right now it's the Hummer, but when the weather's nice, when it's going to be 60 degrees tomorrow, it's not going to be, but if it was going to be.
Well, this answer is going to lead me into more discussion about the C5, because right now it's typically the C7. However, like any automotive enthusiast, Corvette enthusiast, like you get to a point with your car where you're like, I love this thing, but I would love it more if it, case in point, we put a cam in your car, and we did it here, and you got to that point where you're like, okay, I got to do something different. So I'm at that point now with the C5. It needs wheels and tires. Mm-hmm. I can't deal with 18s in the rear and 17s in the front. It just doesn't.
Especially after you put those F14s on PA Driven's car. He's over here in the chat. Oh, everyone's telling you to sell the car to Heather, Greg's wife.
Yeah, I know. Well, I know. At least I feel like if Heather had it, I would have a shot at maybe driving it sometime.
Yeah, that's true.
So if I don't sell the car to Heather, let's talk a little bit about the C5 and some potential plans for it. I sort of want to do like a 90% track build on it, right? So I want to make the car appear as if it came off of, like a circuit, off of a racetrack, but still retain a full interior and the ability, to drive the car on the street, obviously. Mm-hmm. So that's been sort of tickling my brain for a while. Things, wheels and tires, coilovers. I wouldn't do too much to the engine and transmission at this point, or the exhaust. I would definitely do. So when I first got the car, it had Billy Boats on it, the bullets. And I took those off and put a Z06 titanium exhaust on it, and it's just too quiet for a cammed car. I mean, it needs to have some more, guts to it. So I would probably do a new axle back, and probably upgrade the brakes, and then just some little stuff. Maybe an MGW shifter. I'm going to throw some track spec hood vents on it, and maybe a big wang on the back. Yeah. And then take it and get it wrapped. Like do some crazy 512 garage, like just obnoxious, red, black, and whatever 512 garage wrap on it. So that's what's tickling my brain right now. If I don't sell it to Heather,
I think that would be awesome, because Drew knew that you'd be putting a big wing on it. He said, "Here comes another monster wing." and Greg joked that Heather isn't good at sharing. So.
Oh no! Uh-oh. Well, I may or may not have already reached out to APR about a wing, so we'll just leave it there.
The taller one or the shorter one? Don't they have two?
They have two different widths.
Okay, it's the same height though. I thought there was a shorter and a taller, but maybe not.
Maybe they do. I don't know. I know they definitely have two different widths of those wings. So, wang. Okay. We'll see what happens.
What besides the Corvette? Obviously, that's the two cars that you have in the Hummer. If you weren't into Corvettes, what would your vehicle of choice be if it wasn't the Corvette?
Is this like a obtainable, reasonably?
Correct. Yeah. If you could take the C5 and the C7 out of your garage, what would you put in the garage? Obviously, of equal or lesser value.
Oh man. I don't know that there's anything out there in that price range. I don't know, guys. Help me out in the chat here. Where would you go? Because I start to go to like supercar territory, which is not obviously in the same price range, in the same stratosphere.
Yeah.
I mean, if you consider what you could get a C7 for, depending on whether you'd get like a Stingray up to like a Z06. I mean, you're looking at anywhere between 35 and $65,000. What else is in that price range? That's I don't know. What a Hellcat! I don't even know what a Hellcat goes for. What does that go for these days?
It's funny. I was looking at this the other day just for shits and giggles, but it's around that 60 to 70 mark, I think. Maybe low 60s, high 50s for a decent Hellcat.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I was looking more at like the SRT8, so the non-supercharged Hellcats, basically.
And what are they running? I don't even know. I'm so out of touch with that.
It all obviously depends on the year and the mileage, but the newer ones are in the upper 30s, but the older ones are lower 30s, mid to high 20s. So all depends on the year.
I think actually, honestly, if I'm going to get rid of the two Corvettes and replace it with something that's not a Corvette, it would probably be a ZL1 1LE, a Gen 6.
Like a Camaro.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are pretty sick cars.
Yeah, that's probably where I would go. It's got to have an obnoxious wing on it, though. So we got to go with the 1LE.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Greg said Shelby GT350.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There is a video on my channel. I actually got a chance to drive one of those things. And I will say, I have no idea if Brad is on here. I doubt it, but if he is, that would be awesome. So Brad, I met him at Cars and Coffee, and he had a 350 GTR. Actually, I met him at a rally, but we met up at a Cars and Coffee. So he had a Shelby GT350R. He let me drive it. I recorded a video for the channel. He looks very concerned in that video. And when I showed my wife the video after I was done editing it, she goes, "You need to call him." What do you mean I need to call him? You need to at least text him. Why? Because you're beating on his car and he like visibly looks like scared in the video. So whatever, I text him and he's like, "Oh no, it was great. Don't worry about it." I'm like, "Oh, I'm not really sure." But anyway, so he no longer has that car. He has a C7 Grand Sport now.
Yeah, he has the Carbon 65 edition, right?
He has a Carbon 65. Yeah, it's a beautiful car.
Oh,
yeah,
it is.
Car. So we converted him. We converted him to from Mustang to a Corvette, which is pretty good. Check that as a in the win column.
Yeah, I mean, you came from not straight from a Mustang, but you had Mustangs, and now you're in Corvettes.
Well, yeah, and actually, so here, let me finish with the GT350 real quick. So the way I sort of compared both of those cars was the GT350 felt like you were sitting on a rocket, particularly in because that thing revs out to what 8250 or something obnoxious like that.
Yeah.
And it's easy to short shift those cars when you first drive them, right? I'm like shifting at $5,000 or $6,000, and he's like, "Dude, you can go further with this thing." Anyway, when you get up in those higher rev ranges in those cars, it feels like you're sitting on top of a rocket. Like in contrast, in a Corvette, in a C7, even a C5, a C6, it feels like you're sitting in a rocket. That was sort of the difference that hit me between both of those cars. So I just felt like I was up higher, almost like I was in an SUV when I was driving that Mustang. Different than when you kind of slink down a Corvette, you feel kind of lower and closer to the road. So anyway, the car I had, actually, there was a big gap before I had my C5, but the car I had before that, probably 4 or 5 years before that, was a 96 Cobra.
Nice.
The 4 valves. It was the first year for that 4.6 liter. And I bought that car because I just loved the way those engines looked. For some reason, I don't know what, and it has these two little hood scoops. You guys are probably familiar with the 96 to 98 Cobras. They have these two little scoops that stick up, and I always just loved that engine. The heads on those things were huge, right? So I had one of those for a while, put exhaust on it, fixed it up, yada yada, same shit everybody does, and drove the hell out of it, and then sold it. And I can remember the day I sold that car, I transferred the title over and I was at the title place, and the guy pulled out and took off down the road, and I heard that thing barking, and I was like, damn, what did I do? Shouldn't have sold it. However, it led me to this point here, so I guess it was a fine decision.
Gotcha. Now that kind of brings us into another good question: is what is your realistic project build? So, something that maybe maybe it's a multiple year project. It's something that's attainable that you can do yourself. What is that project, Car?
So in the short term, like quick, easy project, probably the stuff I want to do to the C5, pretty reasonable. In terms of, building cars isn't cheap, but, under 10 grand, I could probably get that thing in the condition that I sort of envision in my brain. I mean, we all have like this vision that we see of our cars and what we want it to look like, interior, exterior, different profiles, different angles, right? So we hold that vision in our brains. And that's sort of what drives us to, I've got enough money now, I'm going to do wheels and tires, and okay, now I'm going to do this. And so in the short term, that's a pretty reasonable build that could get accomplished. A longer term, multi-year build that I could do on my own, depending on how far down the road I want to go with this, is I would love to do a C2. Just a badass C2. It doesn't even have to be original.
Mm-hmm.
I want a black C2 with a red stinger stripe going down it, with like an LS7 in it, and a manual transmission. All modern running gear, that sort of thing. I think that would be pretty badass.
Yeah,
so that's sort of like that's sort of my dream build there.
That's mine too. Definitely a C2 resto mod, like you just said. I don't care I don't want a numbers matching car. I mean, I don't have the money for a numbers matching C2, so I'll take a C2, and then, like you said, drop an LS in it. That's where I'd be headed to.
Yeah, I mean,
either in a C2 or a C3, because I think the C3s are a little bit more attainable than a C2, even just for like a roller.
Yep.
So, but yeah.
And the cool thing about the C2s is just the perspective when you sit in, or a C3, I'm sorry, the perspective when you sit in a C3, how everything just looks like so pushed out from your view, and that hood line is just so long out in front of you. There's a lot of drama in a C3, just sitting in a C3, the way that they designed the interior of that car to sort of just flow from the inside out the windshield and just down the front. Like your eyes are always sort of going down that long hood line, which is really neat. And there's a lot of room to drop whatever engine you want in one of those. Yeah. So, but yeah, Resto Mod C2 would definitely be that would be my jam right there.
I hear you. I agree with you 100% on that one. If you guys, what was that?
No, I was gonna say, are we boring people out there? I'm not even sure. I can't see the chat, so
I'm just looking at the chat. Drew and Greg are having a conversation.
Is there like 6 people on this thing? Is that what
that's the one thing I don't know. When I'm on this app, I can't tell how many people are on here, so I don't know.
Okay. Cool.
Right. I don't know if it's just Greg and Drew or if there's more than Greg and Drew.
It's me, you, Greg, and Drew. So that's
good. Marshall's on. Jamal's Garage is on. There's awesome. 14, 15. Okay. So
right. I'll take it for Tuesday night.
For Tuesday night, I know it was a little late for a lot of people, but my son right now is just giving me havoc on trying to put him down to sleep. So I tried. We started at like 7:20, and he finally fell asleep at like 8:40. And it's a nightmare. So that's why this is at 9:00. But I guess back to like a kind of like a personal question, whatever you want to call it. What are some other hobbies you have besides besides cars?
Well, so recently I've gotten back into photography. So there's been a drastic change on my Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go follow me on Instagram, 512 Garage. I've sort of picked the camera back up and got back into photography, and been having a blast with doing a lot of car pictures. But I've noticed that like C5 pictures on Instagram seem to get the most likes. C7 pictures do pretty well. People love Hummer pictures for some, I don't know, for some reason.
I think just the stance of that Hummer. That's what does it for everybody.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But when I post like pictures I've taken of like a Lamborghini or like a Porsche, people, I don't know. They're not interested. But people are following me, I guess, because of the
Corvette stuff.
The Corvette stuff. So I wouldn't expect people to get excited about my Lamborghini pictures. Other hobbies. I mean, I'm staring at one right now. I mean, you guys can't see, but I'll grab something real quick. So I used to do this a lot. Played in a lot of different bands when I was out in California. Thought I was going to be a rock star one day, and that didn't happen. But here's a funny story. The night before I picked up the C7 here, I played in a band that needed a guitar player for one gig, and we opened up for Drowning Pool. So I don't know if you guys remember Drowning Pool, if you're old enough to remember Drowning Pool, but Let the Bodies Hit the Floor was like their big song from the 90s. So the night before I left to go pick up the C7 in Delaware, I was playing a gig. So that was really I think that was my last like real gig. Actually, my last gig was back in February. We played a benefit show for Drew, Cars for Cause, right? We did a Cars for Cause event at the axe throwing place. So that was pretty good. So anyway, that's my other hobby. I don't get to do it all that much because, nobody wants to see an old bald rocker anymore.
Gotcha. Project Dirty had a good question. And then if anybody does have questions, just put them down in the comments. But he has most obnoxious mod someone can do to a car, in your guys' opinion.
I got a neighbor across the street that has an air horn on a lifted Ford truck that's pretty damn obnoxious. I gotta be honest with you, but that's probably not what you're looking for.
I think the stupidest thing is the whole stance game right now, right? Everyone's with the tires like this. You have this much contact patch. I think that's the stupidest friggin' thing. But maybe that's not ridiculous, but it's just stupid.
Yeah, well, what's funny about that sort of thing, the stanced out cars and the Carolina squat on the trucks, and like it's regional. Like certain regions of the country have sort of their sort of token mods, right? I had a customer contact me. It was about 2 weeks ago. He sent me pictures of his Corvette, and he wanted to show me the difference between a West Coast Corvette and some of the mods and styling things that they do out west compared to like an East Coast Corvette. So there is some regionality to what's popular in terms of mods on a car. But at the end of the day, like as obnoxious as certain mods can be, I totally get it. Somebody that's in the cars, right? Mm-hmm. And feeling that we get when we get into our Corvettes and go for a rip. They get in their stanced out Jetta or whatever. They get that feeling. And I think that's awesome. That's cool. It's not for me, but I get what you're feeling when you go and do that. So I can totally respect it.
Gotcha. Yep. No, I agree. I may not like it, but I'm not going to shit talk the person or, anything like that, but just not.
Yeah. And I think the way the world is, the country is today, like, I was reminded when we went to Carlisle and Greg and Heather were there with me, Dave, you came up for a day, and JT and a bunch of other folks that I'm probably forgetting. Maddie and Justin obviously was there, Horsepower Obsessed. But, you know, we all hung out there, and you're always reminded when, you know, we're going through this COVID thing and people are locking down and isolating and masking up and doing all this stuff. And, you know, we went out for a week, hung out at Carlisle, Corvettes in Carlisle, and you start to get into conversations with people from all different backgrounds and all different colors and all different religions or whatever. All that stuff like sort of just goes away, right? Because we're all a part of the same culture. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And you don't even think about that stuff anymore. And I think right now, like, we're sort of missing that in this country. And I cannot wait for us to get back together as like people and human beings and spend time with each other around hobbies and stuff that we enjoy. So, like, you know, we don't think about all that other stuff because at the end of the day, we're all just humans and we're sharing a love for the same thing. So I was really reminded of that back in August. And if you haven't gone to Carlisle before, you know, Dave, you can totally attest to this. You got to go. I mean, it's pretty awesome. Even this year when it was like dead, you know, there wasn't a lot of vendors there or whatnot. You know, it's all about the camaraderie around the car. So
yeah, I know. What day did I come out there? Was it Friday? I think it was Friday. I think
it was Friday. Yeah, because you called out work.
Correct. You're right. I called out of work. It came out on Friday, and yeah, the crowd was really, really light, and everyone kept saying that, you know, this isn't the typical Friday crowd. Normally, I go out on Saturdays, but I know the weather forecast for Saturday wasn't good, but I think the weather actually ended up being better Saturday than Friday. But
yeah, one of the days it rained like hell at the end of the day.
Yeah. I know Friday on my way home, I had to drive fast enough to get in front of it. And then right when I got home, the skies opened up. But yeah, I know that was Friday, but maybe it's multiple days.
It's funny watching people trying to not get their Corvettes wet when you're up there for a week because you're going to get rained on at some point. You know?
Yep. I'm just looking through some of the other comments here on what people.
Was it Greg said Carolina squats? Is that what he's doing?
Yes. Yeah, he said Carolina squat. Atomic Z06. So Tony agreed with the stance look.
Hey Tony, what's up, man?
If you didn't look at Tony just put up a video a few days ago on his I guess background at Penn State. I don't know if you watched it or not. Great little video that he put out with him, his dad, Joe Paterno. Awesome video. I didn't comment on that, Tony, but I didn't know all that, man. It was an awesome video. Great video. They got a book and everything. I was like, damn, I didn't know all this. But yeah, pretty cool with Tony.
Yeah, everybody go check out Atomic Z06. If you haven't already, check out his channel and his Instagram. Lots of good stuff on there.
Yeah. Super
cool dude and freaking awesome Corvettes.
Oh yeah. Tony's got what? Twin turbo C6 Z06, and his C7 Z06. So I don't think he has much performance mods to that. But Tony, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Greg mentioned just stick on chrome parts in the engine bay being terrible. I agree.
Yeah, I'm not too big of an engine dress up guy, to be honest with you. Especially with the C5. I love the engine bay of the C5. It's so simple, clean, utilitarian. I wish they made engines that look like that in more cars. You know, everybody just hides everything under plastic. I shot Drew. You know, obviously Kevin's green Lamborghini. I shot that. It was 2 weeks ago, and it's a convertible. And I said, we'll pop the the engine cover, and it's just like the C8 that you can't see anything. There's like an oil filler. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think that's an interesting question though when you start to consider the C8 and the idea that you've got this hard top convertible where you can't see this mid engine, and you've got the coupe, with the removable top. I mean, what would you choose, right? I mean,
mm-hmm.
To me, it's a pretty easy answer. Like I want to see that engine. That would be part of the reason to buy that car. But the people that love those convertibles, they
Yeah, I think some of the lore for the convertible C8 anyway is you don't lose any trunk space, right? So when you lower the top, you still have the trunk. Where in the C8, if you take the top off, you put that in the trunk, in the actual trunk. Yeah. Now you lose trunk space. Yeah, you still have the frunk, but your trunk is now pretty much useless at that point.
Well, so that would be an interesting sort of poll to do with Corvette owners specifically on this chat here. I mean, unless you've got a Z06, a C5 or a C6 Z06 where the roof doesn't come off, or an FRC, do you take the top off often? Because I was pretty pumped when I got the C7 that it had this removable roof, which the C5 didn't. But I find myself leaving the roof on, more than I take it off, even on like a somewhat nice day. And now with this wang back here, I'll tell you what, guys, that's one of the things about that. It is a pain in the ass to get things into
put anything in the trunk, right?
Yeah. Especially now, you don't need two people, but it is way easier with two people. But anyway, there's something to consider.
Yep. Marshall just asked who is Scott, because he was a little bit late. Scott is Five12 Garage here on YouTube, Instagram, and he has a website as well. You can watch the replay just to recap all that, unless you want to just give 30 seconds on who you are again.
Yeah, real quick. Hey,
Marshall. Late comers.
Yeah. How are you, Marshall, and everybody else who's coming late? Yeah, so I met Dave 2 years ago. I started watching his videos. I bought a C5, started making my own videos, and then hooked up with Dave because he's in Jersey, I'm in PA. We started hanging out and doing some things together, and I eventually bought a C7 a couple summers ago. More content on that. Launched a website, 512garage.com. I sell aftermarket parts and accessories for modern Corvettes. So that's sort of a quick and dirty on that.
Yep.
Maybe we should talk about meetups.
Corvette. I was just about to bring that up because you did mention I'm in Jersey, you're in PA. We've been doing the Corvette Takeover. We've done 4, right? 2 in 2019, 2 in 2020. Even with all the madness in 2020, we were still able to do 2 of them. And we hope to do 2 more again in 2021. I know me and you talked about April, as my headphones fall out of my ears. But I know we talked about doing one in April. Go back to our normal theory behind all this was one in the spring before the car season really kicks off, and one in the fall as the car season's kind of coming to an end. Kind of start it and end it. That's kind of what we were all about. So we hope to be doing that again. And we're not the biggest Corvette gathering in New Jersey, but we want to get there.
What would we have back in the fall?
180.
Yeah, we had 180 Corvettes. So I mean, we started the first one. We had like 20 to 30 or something like that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we had only like 30 or 35, something like that. So we went from 35, let's just say, to 180 in a little over a year's time.
Yeah. And I mean, really, it was just us like, hey, let's meet up sometime, And you said, well, let's meet up and maybe just tell people we're meeting up and see if we can get any other Corvettes to come. Yep. And that was at the first spot, right? And then they heard about it because we never contacted them. We just thought this was this little gathering in a parking lot at a restaurant in Jersey. But then they reached out to us and they're like, hey, wait, what is this Corvette show you're doing at our restaurant?
Yeah, because I had called them, talked to whoever was on the phone, just saying, hey, I'm going to have like 20 or 30 guys come through. We just wanted to see if we can, section off the parking lot, kind of reserve some spot on at the bar for all of us. And, she said, well, when are you coming? And we were like, oh, probably like a Saturday afternoon. She's like, oh, no problem. There's usually not many people here. And I was like, okay, that's it? She's like, yeah, that's it. I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Then we tagged them on Instagram, like you said. And now all of a sudden, then they reach out to me and they kind of want to make it a little bit bigger than what it was. Not what it was, but what they had initially perceived it to be. So, which was good.
You look really official with that microphone, by the way. I'm sitting here with an empty glass of wine. You got
my can's empty too.
Yeah. So next time. Good.
Well, I'm trying to do more and more of these where we get to know other YouTubers. So I tried to kind of make it look more official than.
Oh, so that's actually not even working?
No, that's working.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that works. So,
is there any other questions coming up?
Let's see.
I mean, I'm like sweating over here because I can't.
Yeah, no, I don't. Greg said I take the target off to hear the bald eagles better. There you go, Greg.
Yeah.
For me, in the C5, I feel like the insulation is like non-existent, or if it is there, it's like very minimal now. I got headers, bullets, and now I'm canned. It just friggin' screams, and my ears are rocking the entire time. With the roof on, when I take the roof off, it's actually better. Like,
yeah, let some of that pressure.
I guess it lets a lot of that. Just all that drone has somewhere to go, so it doesn't bother me as much when I take the roof off.
By the way, Marshall he's in Virginia. I can see that. So that means the next time we have a meetup, he's got no excuse not to come, right?
Yeah, it depends on where he is in Virginia. Virginia's freaking huge. I've driven enough down to Florida where I know Virginia is freaking huge, man. Takes like 6 hours to get through Virginia. It's crazy.
What else is going on in the comments?
Greg said he can't wait for the next one. Tom Z06, he has a Speedway White Z. Awesome.
Oh, nice.
We had one at the first meetup we did. We had a White Z. He didn't come to any of the other, or maybe it wasn't the first one. Maybe it was the second one. Yeah. But he didn't come to any of the ones after that. But yeah, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, the C. What do you say? The C5 is the most raw Corvette. Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I had never even driven a Corvette before the day I bought my C5, and I went to the dealership that was selling it, and I took it for a test drive, and the whole time I was thinking, okay, I can't talk myself out of this. Like, I'm going to leave with this car today. And I sort of got it at that point. I'm like, okay, I totally get these cars now. I understand. And it didn't take long,
Mm-hmm.
couple mile loop, from the dealership in it. And I was totally sold. Yeah, it's raw. And that's what I'm always reminded of. Every time I get in the C5, I sort of fall back in love with Corvettes again. I mean, the C7 is great, but it is a modern car, and there's a lot of modern amenities, and it is insulated a bit from the driving experience. You get in the C5 and you just feel so connected. So,
that was
hell yeah.
I think Tom just gave the whatever you want to call that. This is Speedway White Z, but it was actually Marshall that had the Speedway White Z. Sorry about that.
Either way,
it's a sweet car.
It is a sweet car.
Let's see. Bond 007 gamer said, ever think of a Michigan meetup?
Road trip.
Yeah, right now, no, but who knows where this might go, right? You never know. Like, we're doing this takeover here in Jersey. Will it spin off to something in the Midwest, on the West Coast, down south? Don't know. That would be pretty sweet, but right now, no.
Well, I can tell you right now, there are people that have hit me up about doing a meetup, at least in Pennsylvania.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's always a reality. But doing like sort of a caravan trip, that would be the ultimate. Because we know enough people, probably in pretty much every state, that can sort of help organize a trip out and back or something. What a cool idea.
That is a pretty cool idea. Greg said, who's buying a C8? I'm not. I don't know if you are.
Me? It's not out of the realm of possibilities, to be honest with you. I'm sort of torn because, right now prices on a C8 are just insane, and I refuse to pay that much markup on a vehicle, so I'm not buying one right now. However, when we've got a little bit more supply and the prices come down a bit, I'm sort of torn between, because at that point in time, you're going to have the C8 Z06, which is going to be out. and you're going to have obviously some used Stingrays, low mileage Stingrays on the market. When I buy a vehicle now, I'm sort of focused also on the business, right? So it has to make some sort of business sense as well, right? So that's why I've got all this stuff hanging off of the C7. You know, we talked about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of like it's a business case at that point. It's a business expense. So, you know, consider a Stingray and the availability of parts and things to do to it, to build content around that vehicle as compared to, you know, what the Z06 would offer out of the box. I mean, would you want to do a bunch of stuff to that car, or is that sort of one of those things where, you know, maybe you don't, and the Stingray is less expensive, which means you've got more cash to kind of do stuff to it and build content around it, and you know, use it more for the business. So I don't know. I'm torn. I've driven a couple different C7s, and you know, I've got mixed feelings about the car, to be honest with you. I've had a chance to drive a C8 and my Grand Sport around the racetrack on the same day, and flat out honesty, I had more fun driving that car right there with the manual transmission. And, you know, you talk about the C5 being raw compared to, you know, a C7. Absolutely. When you compare a C7 to a C8, it's sort of the same thing. The C7 feels much more raw than the C8 does. The C7 feels more insulated from the driving experience than the C5. The C8 is like, you know, driving a European luxury car, you know? I mean, it is quiet as can be in there, and I'm not taking anything away from the car. I mean, it's an amazing car. I'm so pumped that GM sort of threw a wrench in the American sports car market and said, okay, we're going to make an affordable mid-engine sports car. And now it's got all of the other manufacturers sort of on their heels going, okay, well, we've got to compete. And when they compete, that only means good stuff for automotive enthusiasts like us. So I love the C8. The driving experience, definitely insulated, more so than the C7 actually is. So if you haven't driven one yet, I can tell you for certain that it doesn't have as a connected driving experience as the C7 does. Still a tremendous car. It's a hell of a lot of fun. I love the interior. That driver-focused cockpit is so freaking awesome. You know, the instrument cluster resolution is very high, and it feels like you're in a pretty pricey high-end car, to be honest with you. And it's really cool to look out the rear window and see that.
And see the engine behind it.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm not taking anything away from the car, but I had a hell of a lot more fun in that car blasting down, you know, around corners and what have you. So, and there's a video on the channel of that. If you guys get a moment to watch that, you'll see some of that happening.
Got it. I just had to scroll up a little bit to catch up on some comments, but Tony brought up a good possibility for a takeover. He said, what about reaching out to Kerbeck Corvettes in Atlantic City? They're, if you don't know, you probably do because we're all in the Corvettes, but they're they sell the most volume Corvettes in the world. So I actually did make contact with someone that knows the Kerbecks really well. So that could be a possibility. I have to talk with him, see what kind of things we can work out. But that's a good idea. And it's by Atlantic City, kind of makes it, I guess the only issue with that would be, you know, for you PA guys, that's a little bit more of a haul, obviously. But it's Kerbeck, so it might draw a little bit more as well.
Well, yeah, and to be honest with you, driving out to Atlantic City is not that big of a deal for me living where I live in PA, and I like to drive the cars anyway. So I know we've had people like contact us even in Jersey, like, well, why are you doing a meetup there? That's an hour drive for me. It's like,
yeah, it's 45. It's 45 minutes for me. Like,
yeah, awesome. You get to drive your Corvette for an hour. Isn't that freaking awesome?
Yeah. I think it's.
So I don't quite get that thinking. You know, sometimes that's a 90-minute drive for me.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Right. Project Dirty said, "What color should have come on the Vet that didn't?" I don't know which generation he means, but I guess in general, and I'm not saying this just because his car's green.
I was going to say,
but I think like a badass green. It definitely Corvette missed the boat on that. What do you think?
So here's my thing with the greens. The greens can go like wildly wrong, and sometimes I feel like the greens get too. They almost look like Christmas ornament green or something. I don't know. I think you got to. The green's a tough one to nail down.
It's got to be bright.
Yeah,
It's got to be a bright green.
It's got to be a bright green. It's got to be
like specifically on the C8, what do they call the C Accelerate Yellow, right? Is that what they call it? I think it's too highlighter for me. I think they should have made that yellow more of a yellow.
Yeah.
And then made a green color. And
yeah,
I think that would have been perfect because that Accelerate Yellow is it's just too highlighter for me. And I love yellow cars. I just think it's too highlighter.
The Lamborghini has a green called Verde Mantis, which to me is like, that's sort of the benchmark for greens for cars. And, maybe you can go a couple shades one direction or another, but to me, that's sort of like the benchmark. But man, colors are interesting even from year to year. Like some colors that look really good on a C5 don't do as well on maybe on a C8. So sometimes the body lines and the shadows that get formed by those body lines and the creases have a lot to do with, what color really looks well. So, or really looks good. So yeah, and you almost need to like figure out, okay, what generation. Like I'm always, I love Hugger Orange. I don't know what the newer Chevy orange color is. That's like that Hugger Orange type.
Yeah.
You guys know what I'm talking about. I'm not super hip on color names, but I think that's a cool color. The Sebring Orange looks great on C7s. In fact, that was sort of my second choice for C7 color was Sebring Orange. We didn't really answer his question. We just sort of talked in circles.
I think we kind of did. This next one, I think, is definitely
flesh.
It's for you.
Flesh colored Corvette. That's what we're missing. No.
Somebody asks, what are your thoughts on the AWE track exhaust so far? Do you still have the track on there, or do you have the touring back on there?
I got to be honest with you guys. I answered, and no offense to whoever asked that question, it's a great question, and it needs to be answered. But I get that question weekly, multiple times a week, either on like either Instagram or YouTube comment or a straight email. So here's the deal with the AWE systems, because I have both the track and the touring on for the C7. I'm running the touring right now. So I originally put the touring on, and then I got the track conversion kit, ran that for a while, and then put the touring back on. So here's like the clean and simple between the two exhaust systems. The amount of volume increase, because the track is louder. And I have a video, it's a short 1-minute video on my channel that compares them. And at the end of the video, I used a decibel meter app. And it's like 126.7 decibels for the touring and 128 decibels for the track. Now, 2 decibels at that level, is not like, doesn't mean it's 2% louder. I mean, it is louder. It's logarithmic, right, David?
Correct.
Right, Dave? Yeah. So, so the track is louder, but to be honest with you, after about 20 minutes of driving with the track and just that constant drone, it drove me crazy. And I didn't think that that slight increase in volume was really worth the droniness. And on top of that, the touring system is tuned to sound a specific way, right? So the resonators that are in the touring system are designed in terms of like the volume of it. So the length and the width, they design it to a certain size to get a certain sound out of the exhaust. So there's intention in that touring exhaust that is not in the track exhaust. The track exhaust is just straight pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And for your dollar, I mean, I think they're like 900. It's like $1,000 for the track system. You're really paying $1,000 for a set of tips and some straight pipes. You got a clever enough exhaust shop down the street, they could probably fab you up something for half that cost. So, and I sell these things, so I should be telling you how amazing they are, but I don't care. I'm telling you the truth. The touring system to me has a more tuned, purposeful, intentional sound than the track does. But some people just love that wide open straight pipe sound, and they want those, diamond black tips, and they're willing to pay the money for that. That's cool too. But for me, I love the sound of the touring over the track, and the fact that it doesn't drone at all is huge. Wow, sorry, that was just like a diatribe on the
So I guess you're not getting bullets for your C5 then.
No. Actually, I'm looking at. Let's get some opinions on an axle back for my C5. I've been looking at a couple different systems, and I'm sort of leaning towards the Borla attack system.
Okay, my father-in-law has the Borla attacks.
Does he?
But he's just on stock manifold, so like, you don't really hear it. You know what I mean? Like it's better than stock, but he really needed headers for it to really wake up.
I'm thinking headers in a cam with no cats. Those things would sound better than what I have on it now. So, but that's
I think so.
I'm throwing that out. If you guys have other ideas,
yeah. Not that I hate the titanium exhaust on the C5Z, which is what you have now. I just think it's too for me. It's too tinny.
Yep.
It's got too much of a tinny sound to it.
I agree. Yeah.
A bunch of people were saying, like Greg, Rich, Drew, they were all saying, let's go for a road trip. Drew mentioned go on a cannonball run. Drew, he would get there like a half a day before anybody else. Guy just rips it.
Yeah. But that means he would get there and he'd have drinks ordered for us already.
That's true. Mark, keep going.
No, go ahead. I was just going to be.
I was going to say, Marshall asked if you put a cam in your C5, and if so, which one? I know you didn't put it in, but I think you do know the specs on it. So
I don't know the exact specs. I know it's a custom ground Lunati cam, and it's a pretty high lift cam. I think the intention of the previous owner, because it was installed when I bought the car, and I do have the spec sheet for the cam. I just don't know what it is offhand. I could look it up if we're super interested. But it's a pretty big cam. But at the end of the day, I always say, like, when you put a cam in a car, it really comes down to the tune in terms of drivability. You put a good tune, get a good tune done on a car with a cam, with a big cam, the driving experience is much better. So that's sort of my advice when people ask me about cams. I say this about a lot of stuff for the C7, and then I go and do it. I probably won't put a cam in the C7, but I don't know. Maybe I will. Watch, in another month, it's going to have headers in a cam and whatever else. But
yep. I think you need to go that route, by the way.
Well, the C7 is going on a dyno either at the end of this month or early in February. So that's going to be fun. We have a local Corvette race shop that's like 15 minutes from our house, and I've been talking with them. They're going to do some work for me, but real quick, I want to get the car on a dyno with the minimal amount of mods that it has on that LT1. Just out of curiosity, let's see what it puts down, and then get a baseline, and then also get a tune put in at the same time. So, I want to see what you can do for a minimal amount of money on an LT1. And I know, like, you can go research this stuff and go to Corvette Forum and get all your answers there, but I want to go and do it. So, I want to get my own answers. So that's going to be fun. I'm going to film the whole thing. I just talked to the shop owner today, and he's totally down for me filming. So, so that'll be fun.
It kind of leads into Tony's question. He just picked up an AWE X pipe. He wanted to know if there's any tuning or anything needed for the install, or is it just a simple bolt-on?
It's a simple bolt-on. I've done a bunch of them, and it's cool that you actually got one. Because AWE technically is not selling X pipes anymore in the U.S. market, and believe it or not, Corsa is sort of going the same way, and Borla has already gone away from the full X pipe, right? So Corsa and Borla offer an X pipe where you retain your secondary cats, so you actually have to cut your stock X pipe to fit this aftermarket X pipe in, which it just sucks. So if you can get a hold of one, that's great. But I know I've been trying to get for some customers the Corsa one, the double helix one that doesn't require you. That's the simple bolt-in one. They're getting very scarce and difficult to get. So if you do have a C7 and you can find an X pipe, a full X pipe, bolt-in X pipe, just get it. I wish I would have known that AWE was going to discontinue those, because I probably would have bought a freaking trailer full of them.
Mm-hmm.
There is,
I would mark them up.
Yeah. Well, there is one competing website that I won't say out loud, because that would be silly for me to say. But there is another website that does sell the AWE X pipes. They have some kind of, I believe it's some kind of shifty thing going on. But whatever. Business is business sometimes. So
yeah. Tom Z06 just said, where is it? Let's chat about Corvette owners passing each other on the road. And I guess just referring to the wave. And I, in words of our buddy PC, right? He always ends every comment with "save the wave." Yeah. I wave at every Corvette owner. It doesn't matter C1 through C8. I wave at everybody. It doesn't matter age, sex. Doesn't matter. I just wave to everybody. But sometimes you don't get them in return.
No, well,
which I find that more on whether it's younger drivers or it's the newer generation Corvettes. So when the C7s first came out, not as many, because I'm assuming it's their first time into a Corvette, so they just don't know.
I think,
and the same now with the C8, they just don't know. And young drivers, they simply just don't know either.
And sometimes the car's so tinted out that I can't even tell if they wave back or not. So I'm just like,
yeah, I have to roll my window down, stick my hand out.
Yeah. How many people feel bad if they pass a Corvette and they're like, "Oh shit, I didn't wave"?
Yeah, I tap on the brakes a few times, just hopefully they're looking back and they're like,
"Yeah,
what the hell? What's up with that guy?" And then they just see me like tap the brakes. You're like, "Oh, okay, that's cool." But let's see.
What else is going on in the comments there?
Reggie Noble asked, "Do you know if 20 by 25 by 305 will fit on a C5 on the rear?" I'm not good with tires. I have no clue. I know a 20-inch wheel will fit on the rear with a 305. So
yeah, you can get.
I've seen people do it.
Yeah, I think I guess it just depends on the offset and the wheel.
Yeah, correct.
I mean, when in doubt, spacer it out.
There you go. A couple of people said Hooker Blackheart.
Yeah, that's what Greg has on the C6, I think.
Yes, that's what Greg just said, that he has that on the C6.
Yep.
Let's see, what else do we have? Scott, let's get my car there too. I mean, hold on. I missed a whole bunch of comments here.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I really can't see from here.
Holy shit.
RTM. Is there somebody at RTM? I wave.
Yeah. Yep. And then, so Jose said, "What's the best way to keep the coolant temp low during the hot summer days? Usually runs at 220 plus."
Just take your hood off. Drive faster.
Yeah. Project Dirty did answer the question about the wheels. Yeah, and he says 20-inch he thinks is too big for a C5. I personally think that too, but if you want to run 20s, go for it. For me, when I got my C5, it did run around 220, 230, and LS1s are just known for running a little bit hotter. But when I got my mail order tune, and when you just get a normal tune, the tuner will set your fans to lower temps. I don't remember the numbers offhand, but I know my coolant temps now don't go over 195, 200, and that's with the cam. Before the cam, they weren't going over 190. Now with the cam, they creep up to 200 if I'm in stop and go traffic.
Yeah, I see 198 is typically the highest I'll see.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too. Drew said he's buying. So when he does beat us by half a day, he'll be in the tank and then still buying for us.
He's a good man.
RTM said he has the Corsa Extreme with LG long tubes and X pipe on his 2004 Z06. The engine is stock besides a Veraram.
Yep. Okay. And you like the sound, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, I'm. There's a lot to catch up on. We fell behind here.
Oh man, we're terrible at this.
Yeah, Muffin Monster answered the question, or pretty much said the same thing I just said about a tune can lower the fan temps. Obsessive Hobbies finally joined us. He said he's sorry he's late. RTM did say he's happy with the sound, and that was well before we even started talking about it. Greg said, let's get my car there to the dyno and see how they compare. I'm assuming, where would you go? Where was the dyno at?
I listen, I know what Greg's trying to do here.
All right. So there's a little bit of history behind that, I guess.
Well, was it the last meetup? I don't know. We were.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there was a red light and it turned green and we were next to each other and we were both hammering on it. And he might have squeaked something out on me, but look, I think there was some.
Was it a front fender or a back fender? It was by a fender, but which one?
We just got to rerun them.
Okay.
That's it. But he beat me. Okay. All right.
Tony said he won't say how he got the X pipe, by the way.
That's all right, Tony.
Muffin Monster said he thinks we should have a C5 cam install party. He wants one, but don't want to tackle it by himself. He's out by. I think he's out by the Lancaster area.
Oh, okay.
I'd say Lancaster. I know it's Lancaster, but or at least out in that direction. I know he keeps saying he's about 3 hours or so from Hamilton. So that's where I'm assuming he's about from. So.
Well, I'll tell you what. A cam job is fun as long as they send you all the right parts before you get started.
True.
Otherwise, you get another bald guy living in your house for 4 days. We didn't record any of that. We should have. No,
yeah, we should have had like a little stupid shit behind the scenes or whatever you want to call
it. Yeah. I still have power steering fluid on my ceiling in the garage.
I thought we cleaned all that up.
Nah.
Just missed a spot.
Yeah.
Obsessive Hobbies. He's got a Jeep too, so he'll forget to he'll wave at Jeeps when he's in the vet, and he'll wave at vets when he's in the Jeep.
Is PA Driven on here still? Because PA Driven.
No, he had to hop off probably about 20 minutes ago.
He's got quite the Jeep, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are just saying that they wave. Rich said he bought his wheels from Phoenix.
Yep. That's right.
And I think that's it. Oh, Greg said buses.
Short bus. Baby. Come on, man.
But
anyway.
I mean, that's it on my end as far as, just getting to know a little bit of who Scotty is, I mean, I know who you are, but just to put it out there, just so everybody else gets to know who Scott is.
Yeah, no, I appreciate the opportunity to come on. I'm sorry we were late with the technical difficulties, but I'm glad everybody hung in there.
Yeah, I did see some people mentioning that the audio was off from the video. I don't know if that's still the case. I know I had that issue last week. Actually, it was last year too, with the live stream, and which was annoying. But hopefully it's back to normal, because that's annoying when that happens. Project Dirty asked the question, what's your opinion on nitrous?
My opinion, I don't know. I've never been a huge nitrous guy. For whatever reason, it's never intrigued me to do to any of my vehicles, but I think it's badass.
Yeah. Yeah, Greg just said he wants a wet shot on the C6 bed. He says it might be in his 2021 plans.
Uh-oh. That could be a video.
Yeah, that would be. And then Muffin Monster did say he's from Lancaster County, so not too far from you.
And I think Obsessive Hobbies is on the other side of the state.
Yeah, he's out by Pittsburgh, but he said he's down for the next one. He keeps saying,
but he doesn't want to go to Jersey, and I know why.
I do too. But he did say the last time I had him on here, he did say that he wanted to come out to Jersey. So well, I guess this lockdown has really gotten to him that bad that he wants to come to Jersey.
I'll tell you what, he probably has what I would consider one of the most badass C5s, just from head to toe, the way it looks, the stance, the wheels, everything. He nailed that.
Yeah. He won my virtual car show, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's hands down beautiful car. You know, stealthy, whatever. You're laughing. What?
No, because Greg's telling Project Dirty to twist his arm. So then Project Dirty responded, twisted like the T. Yeah. Dude, those memes are just hilarious with that twisted T right now. Dude got lit up by it.
All right, are we hanging or are we rolling?
I think that's it. Some of the guys that are on here right now will be on here again, like Obsessive Hobbies, Project Dirty. Some guys that were on here previously that aren't on here now. Jamal's Garage, I'm going to be bringing on.
Cool.
Who else? Paradise C6. So Nick, who came to the meetup, he's going to be joining, doing one of these. Who else? There's a few people I can't remember. Maddie, he's going to be on here. So we're going to be doing this for a few other guys. So it should be fun. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. And, catch you on the next one.
Yeah. This was great, man. Thanks for having me.
Yep. I'm glad you stuck in there, pal. When you texted me like 5 hours ago, I didn't think you were going to make it.
No, man, we're doing this. We're all good. I mean, we did this. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. See you later. Check out Five12Garage.com. You can always shoot me an email, scott@team512.com. And, yeah. Yeah,
once this video goes live, I will put everything down in the description for all of Scott's links. I forgot to do that ahead of time, and I couldn't go back in to do it later. So I'll do that once this publishes.
Cool. All right, guys. I'll see you later.
All right.